hope.
Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we are talking about a little Zelda game that's not getting a lot of coverage online. Thought I'd shine a bit of a spotlight on a hidden gem. Today, we're talking about The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. The wait is over. Now, for your boy, it ended a little bit earlier because I packed my bags and I headed to New Zealand, or at least I tried to, but Nintendo's storefront is very obscure and weird where I couldn't use my debit card in another region. Nintendo, get with the times. I made a trip to New Zealand for Hogwarts Legacy, but you make it so difficult. So thank goodness for our editor Lockmore, because then I packed my bags and I went to Brussels, and there he helped me out, and I got the game a little bit early, so I was able to put a lot more hours in than I expected. And look, y'all already can tell based off the last couple of uploads with Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker that I like Zelda, but I've never loved Zelda. If there's one Zelda game I can point out and say I love that game, it's pure nostalgia, and it's the original Link's Awakening on Game Boy Color. I adore that game. And there are ones that I did like or really enjoy, but I've never felt a strong adoration for Zelda, even in a post Breath of the Wild world. However, as Tears of the Kingdom showed more and more of itself with the fusing mechanics, the way you interact with the world, oh, did that pique my curiosity, because then I saw a lot of sandbox potential. And I'm happy to say that this game is fantastic. It's marvelous. I'm shocked at how much I like it, love it even. But we'll get into all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, you're into nostalgic, retrospective, and the occasional day one Switch review, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. Welcome aboard. Let's talk about Tears of the Kingdom thus far. So I'm about like 10-15 hours in right now, and wow, I mean, this game is impressive. I have not seen such a systems-driven video game in so long. I can't even think of the last time. Maybe Breath of the Wild, really. But Tears of the Kingdom is as systems of a video game as you get. The real fun is found in giving you a mechanic and making something as simple as climbing a wall a really fun challenge to tackle. So as the game opens up in this sky temple, it is intimidatingly open, and especially if you've played Breath of the Wild, you realize like all of Hyrule is down here below me, and that was pretty big the first time around. But what they got right here in Tears of the Kingdom compared to Breath of the Wild, to me, was the meaningful exploration, and that's fueled by the systems driven design. So as you go from location to location, there's much more to find in this game, but what I appreciated more than anything is how the interactive systems, I say this with all due respect, and I know Zelda fans are complaining that someone dared to give Tears of the Kingdom a 4 out of 5, so part of my brief criticism of Breath of the Wild here. But some of the systems in the game I felt were a little gimmicky, sometimes creating a complex solution for a simple problem. It's like, I could do this, like a DMC combat system, I could style on you, or I could just kill you, and that's it. So I feel like Tears of the Kingdom has found this middle ground where you have these systems that can get very complex and allow you to solve problems in front of you, and you can make it as simple or as complex as you wish. So an example of this, I built a little bit of a rowboat and I messed up. I had a skill issue. I failed to jump on it. It sailed away because of the wind. I'm like sitting there for 20 minutes like, what do I do? So I built another boat, and then I built a second boat. And I started to jump from one boat, then move the boat that was next to it in front of me, and then I kept jumping along because my stamina wasn't high enough for me to swim across this pond. It's little things like that that make Tears of the Kingdom so incredible to me, that I can find solutions to any of these problems as long as I think a little bit. I one time was trying to get up to a section on a cliff, and so I took a bunch of logs, I stitched together my own ladder, and built one and climbed the wall that previously I couldn't because it was covered in ice. Or I went into a shrine and I learned about how these specific stakes, we'll call them, can be stuck into the ground. So after solving this shrine, which involved playing a game of pinball pretty much, I actually went out of the shrine and there was a nearby chest that I couldn't figure out how to access. But because that shrine taught me a very interesting lesson in how the stakes work and how the items interact with the open world itself, I was actually able to insert the stakes into the stone that the chest was near and then build a platform to then stand there and open the chest. That is what this game is all about. There's a reward around every corner for your creativity, and it never really has a distinct rule book, which is why, as someone who's not a fan of puzzles, I actually love Tears of the Kingdom, because I don't think puzzle is the right word. It's like these intuitive mental challenges, but there's no one way of doing it like a puzzle typically demands. There are multiple ways you could do it, and you can get as creative as you want, and you can tackle them whenever you want. So there's this sense of true openness and freedom, and it all goes back to being a systems driven game. They give you so much power off the rip. Being able to shoot myself up through any conceivable surface is an insane amount of freedom. Just not knowing where I'm gonna pop out of, that's so exciting. But what's even more exciting is they took the durability system in Breath of the Wild and I think made something really special with it. So a lot of people complain that weapons and whatnot break really easily in Breath of the Wild. And newsflash, if you haven't watched any bit of coverage, they break just as often here in Tears of the Kingdom. But what's cool about it, and maybe this is like the Fallout fan in me speaking, like I like that Fallout has weapon durability. I think it fits the world really well. As your weapons are degrading, you gotta repair them and keep up with them. But here in Tears of the Kingdom, because of this event called the Upheaval, which we're going to stay light on story stuff because I will talk about that in a moment, but I am surprised at the presentation and the focus it's getting. But this Upheaval has caused a decaying of the weapon. So they've actually provided lore on why weapons are breaking so easily. But what's really special about the systems-driven design here is every item you find in the game has a specific characteristic and interaction, and it is really overwhelming at first, but you really can get as creative as you want. Like, there are Lego games that dream of being as interactive and putting pieces together as often as you can in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It's fascinating. So one time I'm running up to this enemy base. I'm super underleveled. I still died anyway, but I'm super underleveled, super underpowered. So I kill this big bad mini boss like enemy. He drops a horn. I attach it to a stick, and now I'm having a weapon that does 21 damage. So again, even though I died, I was starting to do damage that was more equivalent to that level because I experimented, I found a weakness, I exploited it, took this big bad out, and then used his drop to fuel a weapon that actually could, if I was skilled enough, be able to get through that area. But unfortunately, like, one hit would knock out 4 hearts. So that's what I was messing with, and my armor wasn't high enough to offset that. So yeah, it was cool to see that this game has no true barriers. You just go where you want, when you want, mesh things together however you want, and tackle challenges in whatever way you want. It sounds simple, but there's such an absurd amount of complexity within those systems and the options you have at your fingertips that it's just consistently engrossing. Something like going into a shrine I used to roll my eyes at in Breath of the Wild, like, okay, what's gonna stump me this time? But when I got to that pinball shrine, I was thinking like, yo, wait, I'm really into figuring this one out, because there are so many ways to interact that it just hooked me in and didn't let go. It's also other shrines where something as simple as manipulating shapes and perspectives goes a long way. The fusion of items to create meaningful weapons, the fusing of objects in the world that build ladders or whatever you want. I mean, it's incredible how interactive this world is. And so I enjoyed Breath of the Wild. I put like maybe 60 hours in, which I know some people go, what? I know. I think I played it a little bit wrong, truthfully. I kind of just went start to finish, explored, did whatever shrines I could. And I'm watching all these videos online of people just doing crazy things. I'm like, that's cool. But what I love most about Tears of the Kingdom, and why I know I'll spend way more time in this game, is I appreciate Breath of the Wild's ability to say, you can do what you want, and if you're creative and you got that high skill level, you can really just go to the final boss in the game immediately. Like, you can launch yourself off a rock and all this cool stuff. That is amazing. But what I really, truly appreciate about Tears of the Kingdom is they have these sandbox elements that are used in the moment-to-moment gameplay. And I think that the skill level is still extremely high. Like, if you have a high creative level, you can get as interactive as you want. But for those who are like me, and I'm going to be real, like, kind of, I don't want to say struggled with Breath of the Wild, but I used them in a very simple, one perspective kind of way. Seeing how three-dimensional things are and adding characteristics to every item in the game, there is that barrier now being lowered where it's inviting me to be more creative, and I get it a little bit quicker. So I'm doing things that I never would have imagined way faster. I put an eyeball. This was in one of the Nintendo trailers, but it was still awesome to put an eyeball on one of my arrows and shoot it and watch it home in on an enemy. Like, the amount of characteristics and surprises packed into this game, it's hard for any RPG to compete, right? Like, RPGs are built off of a gear system, right? Like, what's the cool weapon you're gonna unlock? But in Zelda, it takes like crafting and cool legendary gear and fuses those ideas together into something special where you're just making these weapons on the fly to suit your needs, and it's special. It's just a special kind of video game. But what I need to emphasize more than anything with all those systems covered is that the exploration is enhanced. Like, Breath of the Wild, to me, I don't care about Koroks. I'm sorry if anyone doesn't like that. I don't give a dang about that. And I found the side quests kind of weak, but here's in Tears of the Kingdom, the storytelling and the focus on it is much stronger, and so the world is more interesting to me, especially because, again, we'll talk about it, there's a darker tone. And so going around and finding people, finding objects of importance, I'm stunned at how invested I am in this world. A lot of people said Breath of the Wild is this Ocarina of Time, whereas what we're seeing in Tears of the Kingdom is more of the Majora's Mask, like more of the darker, amping up the story type of approach. I've not played Majora's Mask, so I'm not 100% sure. But what I can confidently say is this game has a bit more of a gritty tone. If the opening was anything to go by, I'm really surprised at how dark the games get. Because I know like other Zelda games will get dark, but this one, again, had a very creepy vibe to it. And there is this sense of Hyrule rebuilding after the calamity and now this upheaval. It's like there's so much this world has been through, and you can kind of feel the pain and struggle. But even though it's so empty in the scheme of things, like vacant of life itself, there are so many things to find in those lands between. It's truly impressive. And the scale of it all is intimidating. You go through this whole section with the Sky Islands, and you're like, yeah, this is a pretty big game. You open the map, you see, oh my God. And then you go to Hyrule, and it's that, oh my God moment again. It's insanely big. It's that feeling you get with Elden Ring, for those who played, where when I went into Elden Ring, there's that surface level open world. It's all horizontal. I'm like, okay, nice. I can handle this. Then you go underground. You're like, whoa, hold on. There's more down here. And then you go over into this corner. You go up here. It's just constantly expanding, and the same feeling is here in Tears of the Kingdom. This sucker is legit. Like, normally when I see those absurd review scores of nearing 100, I understand you look at it with a critical eye, but that's why I felt the need to make this piece of content, because I went in kind of going, okay, I know y'all like Zelda, I get it, but is it actually that good? And this look at the game I've had so far, from story to world to interaction, is super impressive. I understand why people are calling it one of the best open world games, because look, I'm a Bethesda Game Studios fan through and through. Like, to me, what speaks to me with their games like Fallout and Elder Scrolls and the upcoming Starfield is that world interaction, right? Talking to everyone, picking up any object in the world and putting it down, and all of these objects having specific characteristics, weights, and how they interact in the world, and can I cook with them and that type of stuff. Can I craft with it? That speaks to me so much. So Zelda takes that idea, and then with the fusing and the enhanced crafting, where it's not so much a survival game, it just amps it up, where it really speaks to my taste this time around, because they took all those core ideas, evolved them further, and then added a whole new layer of ideas, and then a whole new layer of an open world on top of it. This is not just, hey, it's Breath of the Wild 2.0. It will look like it. Like, when you drop into Hyrule, I recognize that, but there's such a well-captured passage of time here that you're going to find so many different things in between. For me, I'm not one of those people who kept dipping back into Breath of the Wild, so undoubtedly this feels a little bit more fresh to me. I think my only critique of this game right now, and it's more of a nitpick, is I had the same issue as my fiance, so I felt it was worth mentioning. We struggle with the controls early on. I don't know why the jump button is mapped to X the top button and why sprint is mapped to B. Some of the controls in this game to me are a little bit weird. Now you adjust, it's a muscle memory kind of thing. You eventually get used to the even funky controls. But to me, that was something it looked like I was picking up a controller for the first time when I was playing the game. I was thinking like, am I getting old? Like, are my skills starting to atrophy now? Like, am I really getting to that point where like, old man sitting there squinting at the TV like, is it the A button? Got it. But I eventually got used to it. But hearing my fiance was having the same issues, I was like, okay, it's not just me. So I felt like it was worth at least bringing up. Like the controls may, if you've been playing other games for a while, feel a little weird here. But eventually you do adjust. I'm still in that light adjusting process, but now I'm not thinking twice about when I jump. Like it's the X button. The other complaint I have beyond that, I think the real one worth bringing up, and I don't know if other reviewers mention this. I don't watch other reviewers to tell you the truth, but I hope people have addressed the performance concerns, because we're really starting to see the age of the Switch. Now, when you're running around the world and nothing's happening, it's really steady, it's really stable, and I was impressed by that. There were moments where I went into an interior and I went, this doesn't look like it's just at 30 frames. This is running really smooth right now. What's going on here? But then there are times that you pick up an object and you're moving it around. Oh my God, the frames. It's awful because the Switch is understandably super weak. And so it's impressive that this game exists on this hardware. But ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourself for the frame dips when things pick up. That was my experience in docked. I remember back when Breath of the Wild came out with the Switch, there was a difference between docked and handheld. But that's my experience on docked. I hope it's something they can iron out a little bit, because those frame dips like go down into the teens. Like it's pretty egregious. It's pretty aggressive. And especially when enemies are attacking you and you're trying to manipulate the environment, it really makes you wonder, what would this game be like if it were on stronger hardware? 60 frames, no worries about these hitches. It's like the one thing to me keeping it from pure perfection here in this early going. But those are my thoughts right now on Tears of the Kingdom. This is definitely worth your time, man. Like, I know it's I put in quotes, the first $70 Switch game. Funny enough, first $70 Switch game was actually Skyrim Anniversary Edition. Congrats Bethesda on that. Don't know how you pulled that one off, but Zelda is like the first party, if you will, $70 game. And I know a lot of games are asking for more money out of you. And it's been frustrating watching Redfall or even like Jedi Survivor, something amazing come out like broken. But this game, it does have its technical hiccups, but the ideas here are captured so well. And I'm just so impressed by everything here, from presentation to gameplay quality, that I just can't help but recommend it. It really is worth a look. I know the review scores are kind of overwhelming. Like, okay, am I going to like it that much? I always say with those types of scores, when they're aggressively high, don't go in thinking you're going to love it as much as the dude pulling up who's been playing Zelda for years. He's like, yeah, yo, this is it. This is the best Zelda game. If you're new to the franchise, or you're like me and you're still working through it all, like we got one right here we haven't played before, look, just go into it with an open mind and just go into it saying, well, I like this. Don't go in looking at the hundreds, 10s out of 10s and saying, oh yeah, like, am I going to love it? Is it going to be my game of the lifetime? Just go in, if you're going to buy it and you want to like it, just go in with that mindset. Like, I hope I like this at least. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, because I went in a little bit skeptical and I was blown away. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, take excellent care of yourselves. I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts down below on Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And with that, I will catch you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.